Hi, my name is Emily Summerhays, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about my song More. And a lot of my inspiration comes from just things around me. The inspiration for the song More actually came in a podcast I was listening to. It was an Inklings podcast. I'll throw a little tap out there. Emily Freeman was talking about this idea that we come as we are. And she said it numerous times, but come as you are, but don't expect to stay where you are. Right? The Savior meets you right where he is, right where you are, but he lifts you out of that place. He turns you into more than you could ever imagine being before. And I found the Lord showing up in my life in numerous ways like that. Whether it be through losing my mom, whether it be in my parenting, whether it be in my own insecurities, I could feel the Lord showing up for me and loving me just as I was. But in the process of entering into relationship with him, he naturally turned me into something so much more than I could ever have been just by myself. So that's kind of where the song came from. You know, my inspirations, I love a bunch of, I've fallen in love with the genre of Christian kind of rock, Christian music. I love Philip Wickham. Phil Wickham is one of my new favorites. I love Lauren Daigle. I love a lot of those artists. You know, one of my favorite non-Christian artists is Andy Grammer. I love how real his songs are. I love how he just the stories that he tells. I feel like he's made a really interesting place in the music industry of just being real and talking about real things. And so I love him too. Anyways, I'm inspired by a lot of different artists. Callie Reed is one of my friends, just a lot of people who just, I see what they're doing. I see how they're communicating real, they're communicating raw, and that was something that I wanted to do. You know, for me, songwriting has been an interesting learning process. I once heard an analogy of a photography teacher who divided his class into two halves, right? And half the class, he said he was going to grade them on quantity. It didn't matter how good the pictures were. If they took 100 pictures, they got 100%. The other half, he said, he was going to grade them on quality. That they only had to take one picture, and they would only be graded on one picture, but it had to be perfect. And at the end of the semester, he was surprised to find out that the best pictures actually came from the half where they took 100 pictures, the quantity, right? In the process of taking 100 pictures, they learned how to take pictures. And I feel like that's honestly kind of been my process in learning songwriting, is I just started creating. And I think so many times we get hung up on something having to be perfect or feeling like we're not good enough or what we're creating isn't good enough. And I would say my number one advice to people who have an interest in creating, just start creating. Just start writing. Figure out, I listened to songs and I figured out song pattern. I looked it up online. I said, okay, so they go verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, or there's different phrases. I just started going. I tried not to let myself get hung up too much on things having to be perfect. And my music is definitely not perfect, but it's an expression of my faith and an expression of my thoughts. I was feeling that need in my own life, and I felt prompted that I needed to share that there was other people experiencing things in a real way that, like I was, that needed my stories, that needed what the thoughts that I was processing, the things, the truths that I was learning. So that's honestly how I fell into it, and kind of where more came from was this idea, and my music falls right into this same principle, right? That I brought my imperfect efforts, my definitely imperfect experience in writing music, and invited the Lord into the journey with me. And it's been amazing to see how he's created so much more out of me, out of my music, out of my family, out of my experiences, both the good and the bad, than I ever could have created by myself. So anyways, thanks for being willing to listen.
So much